Welcome to Oxford News This Week. I'm Elgin Nichols.
And I'm Terry Stiles. And in this week's news, a sad ending for an American pit bull. An Addison man is in the pot of hot water, and hooray, the elections are over.
And stay tuned and learn more about these stories and others. The Oxford News begins right now. An aggressive runaway pit bull was shot by Oakland County deputies within the Oxford Waterstone home development. The 80-pound dog became aggressive when officers in animal control attempted to capture it, most likely due to what appeared to be severe injuries to its face and body. When the animal escaped all attempts to be captured, officers made a public safety decision to shoot. After the 3 failed attempts, the dog was euthanized.
The police want the public to watch out for a man driving a silver, gray, or dirty-looking car seen stealing mail from local roadside mailboxes. It's important to note that in this area, no postal employees use their own vehicle for pickup or delivery of your mail. Stealing or tampering with the U.S. mail is a federal offense that can bring a large fine and/or jail time. If you see any suspicious behavior around your mailbox, police request that you try to get a license number and contact the Oakland County Sheriff's immediately.
And the Oxford High School's Dean of Students notified the Sheriff's Department that an Oxford exchange student was sending pornographic pictures and text messages to a female student located in another school district. The student was questioned and then turned over to exchange program administrators. The case continues under investigation by Oakland County Detective Bureau.
Crossroads for Youth, a youth training camp school on East Drainer Road, reported another runaway. Shortly after receiving the report, Oakland County deputies caught up with the youth walking on Lapeer Road. He was taken into custody and returned to administrators at the facility.
For a 57-year-old Addison man, retirement may come sooner than he thought. After a routine flyover by the Oakland County Air Support Unit, police discovered a large patch of pot on his Addison Township property. After obtaining search warrants, Andrew Waslina was arrested on charge.
For the November 4th election, Addison Township residents will have to find their own ride. Again, the community turned down the North Oakland Transportation Authority NOTA request for a minor millage in order to keep their buses running in the rural community. The proposal turned down reconfirms that the majority of Addison Township residents, including the village of Leonard, do not want their tax dollars to be used to help their homebound residents. As of January 2015, NOTA will discontinue all services in Addison.
At the November 4th election, both millages for the Township Fire Department and the police force were passed. The request for Oxford Public Library operating millage for the second time was turned down. And Oxford Village residents have chosen 4 elected officials to serve on their village council: Sue Bassardit, Brian Cloutier, Maureen Helmuth, and Rose Bema. According to the election rules and the village charter, the 5th member of the board will be appointed by the elected 4 members. Review of voted ballots reveals that Tom Kennis from Oxford Lake Subdivision carries the highest number of write-in votes for the council seat. However, the 4-member council will have the final say. Well, Terry?
That'll be interesting to see how that turns out.
It will. We don't really know.
But I don't have to make that decision.
No.
I have a bone to pick about the voting that happened in Addison, but that's my own personal opinion. But I just want to say it's really too bad that the people in that community that really need those rides are not going to have them now.
This is the place where you get to state your own opinion.
Oh, so my goodness, well.
We do get lots of letters because of these.
It is not the opinion of the station, that's for sure, but I'm really sad for having interviewed a lot of people out there that don't have access to rides, including, I know that the township supervisor's son will one day depend on that. So I just really feel bad for those people out there. And I do want to say, and this is my opinion, and maybe somebody wants to step up, I hope that community is prepared to help take care of those homebound people.
You know, it was a really close election too, Terry.
I know.
I believe they only lost by about 45 votes.
Yeah.
Two of the precincts, I understand, did vote for it, and one precinct, which was larger in terms of majority, you know, turned it down.
I'd be
is my
curious to
understanding.
find out which precinct it is.
Oh, I bet you would.
Yeah, I'd like to see what the income is in that area, and it's only a matter of dollars per year. So I'm really upset about it. But
Okay, Terry is very sensitive to this, and I tell you what, if you're the group that voted against you, you'll probably find her at your door, knocking on the door.
I'm glad I'm not running for any positions in this community. So that's it for Oxford News this week. If you'd like to learn more about these stories and others, stop by your local store and pick up a copy of the Oxford Leader newspaper and watch us.
Yes. And coming up on OCTV, Oxford Local Sports with Andy Curtis and Oxford School News with John Ochins. And join us with Auto Talk and Science in the News with Dave Kenny.
I'm Terry Stiles, and that's Oxford News, where your news is closer to home.
And I'm Elgin Nichols. Remember, always be kind to your friends and neighbors, and thanks for watching.
Welcome to this edition of Auto Talk. I'm Dave Kenny, and these stories are taken from the publication Automotive News. In our first story, in a month marked by falling gasoline prices, pickups and SUVs led U.S. auto sales to a 6% rise in October. Automakers sold over 1,281,000 light vehicles for a seasonally adjusted annualized selling rate, or SAAR, of 16.5 million, slightly better than expected. The SAAR has stayed above 16 million every month starting in March. It was the best October for industry sales since 2004. Fiat Chrysler sales jumped 22% and Nissan North America rose 13% to lead the rally. All the major players except Ford Motor Company finished on the positive side in October, although General Motors was only up 417 units on a volume of nearly 227,000. With one of the two F-Series plants closed for retooling, Ford sales fell 2%. For the first 10 months, Ford sales are down 1%, the only large automaker in negative territory year to date. And for all of you Captiva fans, bad news. General Motors has axed the U.S. version of the Chevrolet Captiva Sport, ending a 3-year run for the fleet-only small crossover. GM built its last U.S. Captiva Sport in August, spokesman Jim Kane said. The company continues to make the crossover in Ramos Arizpe, Mexico, for the Mexican market and for export. The planned introduction of the Trax small crossover in early 2015 should absorb Captiva Sport demand and will give Chevrolet a 3-crossover lineup along with the compact Equinox and large Traverse. The Captiva Sport, essentially a rebadged Saturn Vue, went on sale in the U.S. in the fall of 2011 for rental companies and other fleet customers. It was intended to free up capacity for the Chevrolet Equinox and GMC Terrain, which had been in short supply. Although intended for fleet customers, the Captiva found a following among retail customers on used car lots as a less expensive alternative to the pricier Equinox. On the recall front, Ford Motor Company says it will call back over 202,000 vehicles in 5 North American recalls, covering several issues, including an incorrect repair to a previous recall. Ford said it was aware of one accident in the case of the improperly repaired vehicles, but no injuries related to any of the issues. The company is recalling 38,645 Ford Crown Victoria, Mercury Grand Marquis, and Lincoln Town cars from model years 2005 to 2011 because they may have been improperly repaired in a previous recall for an issue with the lower intermediate control shaft that could result in loss of steering. In the autumn of 2013, Ford recalled 370,000 of the cars in the United States and Canada because corrosion of the steering shaft could result in loss of steering. In the new recall, dealers will inspect and replace the steering shaft as needed, Ford said. It's also recalling 134,947 Flex and F-150 vehicles from model year 2014 because of a passenger seat sensing issue that could result in the passenger airbag not deploying in certain front crashes, increasing the risk of injuries. Dealers will widen the gap between the manual seat frame and the seat track assembly and then recalibrate the seat occupant classification system, Ford said. The company is also recalling 960 F-150 pickup trucks from model year 2014 because an incorrectly adjusted brake pedal position switch could cause a delay or non-illumination of the brake lights when the brake pedal is depressed. Ford said it's advising customers not to use cruise control until trucks have been repaired because they may need to use additional pressure to disengage that system. However, the cruise control off switch on the steering wheel will continue to disengage that system. Dealers will remove and reinstall the brake pedal position switch, Ford said. The other two recalls both affect Ford Transit Connect vehicles. In the first, 25,597 of the 2014 vehicles will be recalled because the fuel and vapor lines may be incorrectly routed, which could cause a fuel leak and lead to a fire. The second one affects 92 of the 2015 models because the bracket that holds the fuel filter to the vehicle frame may become detached over time, resulting in knocking sounds or an engine stall, which could increase the risk of a crash. In the first Transit Connect recall, dealers will inspect the lines and reroute and replace as needed, Ford said. And in the second one, dealers will reinforce the underbody structure if necessary. Well, that's all for this edition of Auto Talk. I'm Dave Kenny, and as always, may the wind be at your back as you cruise down life's highways. Stay tuned to Oxford Community Television, and we'll be right back.
Congratulations, OCTV, as the 2014 winner of the American Legion's Best Electronic Media Award, symbolizing your efforts to provide meaningful coverage of veterans' issues and patriotic activities, as well as the American Legion.
I'm John Ochins, and welcome to the Oxford Wildcats School Update. Well, the votes have been counted, the winners announced, and the commercials are over, at least for a while. Here in Oxford, we've elected 4 school board members. 1 is an incumbent, 3 are new. Current board member Kimberly Shoemaker picks up another term. Joyce Brazington, former high school principal Mike Schwag, and attorney Mark Stepek are the other 3. Present board members Robert Martin and Colleen Schultz are stepping down. The new members will take their posts on January 1st. The third forum on the International Academy dorm is scheduled for November 13th at the Oxford High Fine Arts Center lobby. It's scheduled to start at 6:30. Deputy Superintendent Tim Throne will preside. It will give folks another chance to ask questions and bring us up to date on any changes to the lease agreement. As planned, it would allow construction of a dormitory classroom complex large enough to accommodate 200 resident students. If the current plan works out, the structure would be on property near the high school. Oxford Superintendent William Skilling is on medical leave. A group of our high school students, part of a group called I'm Third, made their way down to Gleaner's Food Bank in Pontiac to help out last week. They sent us some photos. A few months ago, we spoke with their mentor, teacher Joe Amabile, about the focus of the group.
The whole idea of the I'm Third name is we encourage students to, whatever they believe about life, they put first in their life. Second, you put other people, and then you put yourself third. And the group kind of encompasses a bunch of different walks of life at the high school, different people from different social groups. We encourage people that aren't involved in a lot after school to get involved with this. But we just all come together with the main goal of being a volunteer.
And this exposes them to some pretty interesting things.
Yeah, we do some work at the Baldwin Center down in Pontiac, Gleaner's Food Bank down in Pontiac. We've done 2 extreme home makeovers, one in the fall, one in the spring of this year. It's growing every year. We've done some work with at the Senior Hope Senior Center over there with Oxford Fish, Oxfordian Fish. Some canned food drives. Basically, whoever needs help with volunteering, they let me know and I spread the word out. And it wouldn't function if the students didn't want to volunteer. But
Oxford High teacher Joe Amabile. Our high school robotics team, Torque 2137, recently returned from a Michigan event called the Bot Bash. We stopped by one of their meetings to hear more about that and what these smaller competitions are designed to do. Team member Victoria Funk fills us in.
So at our Midland competition, we brought both our competition robot and our practice robot, having 2 teams to use our previous or parts of our previous drive team and try and train up new drivers.
Is that the first time you used 2 robots?
We're not supposed to use it in a regular competition because it's one robot per team, but for an off-season event, this is our first time using 2 robots. The Bot Bash or off-season events that are given after our previous season are to kind of get new recruits more interested into FIRST, because during the build season, you don't really know what you're going for until you go to the actual competition, because you're like, oh, we're just building a robot, and then all the excitement's at the competition. Also for students who are interested in a position, maybe later on in their teams, they would like to give it a shot for driving or human player, or maybe actually understand what more goes on into it.
Victoria went on to talk about the group's connection with elementary and middle school robotics teams.
We try to bring up and grab their experience or their attention so they can continue from a younger age and come up to high school more prepared than, let's say, a first year for high school to come up. In the middle school, they kind of build smaller robots of these. They get to machine their own parts, completely fabricate it, program it, and they go to competitions like we do with the challenge. With the middle school, we have them document their ideas, sketches, notes about data in a notebook. But then in the elementary school, there are 2 different levels, Junior FLL and FLL, which is Junior First Lego League and First Lego League. In the Junior First Lego League, it's where they just learn to collaborate and build something out of Legos and give a presentation. And then in First Lego League, it's where they assemble a robot and program it, and then also give a presentation for their own challenge.
That was Victoria Funk of Team Torque 2137. We'll be following up with them more during the year. That's the Oxford Wildcat School update for this week. Dave is up next with Science in the News, then Andy Curtis with sports. This is Oxford Community Television, keeping it local.
Welcome to Science in the News. I'm Dave Kenny, and these stories are taken from the publication New Scientist. In our first story, the Golden State is baking. After months of drought in California, the long-term forecast is more drought. Rising global temperatures will turn much of the snow that currently replenishes the state's reservoirs to rain, according to modeling studies by Dan Cahan at the Scripps Institute of Oceanography in San Diego. Unlike snow, which melts each spring and recharges California's reservoirs, rain evaporates and soaks into the ground, and it dwindles away, he says. Cahan says the Sierra Nevada snowpack could be 1/3 smaller in 2050 than it has been in recent years, and 2/3 smaller by 2100. The snowpack isn't the only source of fresh water in California, but Cahan says it would be more of a challenge to manage water as rainfall rather than snow. He presented his findings at the Bay Delta Science Conference in Sacramento last week. Cahan's findings emerged as California's Department of Water Resources, or DWR, launched its latest strategic plan to manage the state's water. The future is one of never-ending restraint in water use. The goals of the plan are to make conservation a way of life, says the department statement. The main focus of the plan is to connect all California's currently fragmented water sources so they are easy to manage and rebuild much of its water supply and flood protection infrastructure. It will cost $200 billion over the next decade just to maintain the current levels of service, and $500 billion over the next coming decades to improve it, the plan says. On November 4th, California Governor Jerry Brown launched a scheme to issue water bonds through Proposition 1, a measure which, if approved by voters, authorizes the state to spend $7.5 billion on water system improvements. Cahan says the DWR has paid close attention to all climate change projections issued by the Intergovernmental Panel on Climate Change, and the latest plan includes a climate change component. I believe California has been quite progressive and is right on track, he says, but I think it's fair to say that water management will have to adjust as the climate warms in future decades. So stop watering those lawns out there. On the security front, the spies are upset. The new head of the The United Kingdom spy agency GCHQ has complained that widespread technology is making his job harder. In an article published on his first day in office, Robert Hannigan censured U.S. technology firms for facilitating terrorists with their social networks. Writing in Financial Times, Hannigan noted that extremists in ISIS frequently communicate with one another and the wider public using services like WhatsApp and Twitter. The spy boss also took aim at the rise of popular encryption services such as those provided to users of Apple and Google cell phone operating systems. Spy agencies have long grumbled about secure services becoming available to ordinary folk, but Nigel Smart at the University of Bristol says there are good reasons for making such technologies available. We all use cryptography, that is, to protect ourselves from the bad guys, he says. Hannigan's complaints come as Facebook takes steps to enable users to browse the site privately using the anonymizing Tor network. That means that all of a user's data is encrypted and their browsing history is almost impossible to trace, a feature which users in countries where social media is banned or spied on may well appreciate. Smart suggests that heightened interest in cryptography and secure communications was kicked off by documents leaked last year by Edward Snowden that detailed the surveillance methods of the U.S. National Security Agency. The Snowden documents revealed that the amount of data collection and potentially dubious activities carried out by intelligence agencies was greater than people expected, he says. Smart also points out that people may have legitimate reasons for wanting to encrypt their metadata, such as the names of the websites they visit when browsing the internet. Would someone in the UK be perfectly happy knowing that security services can see that they have just visited an HIV site? Well, that's the sort of data that such agencies are snooping on, he says. So watch out what you browse. That's it for this edition of Science in the News. I'm Dave Kenny. Stay tuned to Oxford Community Television, and we'll be right back.
Hello Wildcat fans, I am once again Andy Curtis and this is once again your Oxford Sports Update. Well, with Wildcat football over for the season and the girls volleyball team getting swept by Lake Orion last Wednesday in the district semifinals, it has been a pretty slow week here in Oxford, so I'm going to jump right into the college football season, which came to an end on Saturday with the 8th-ranked Michigan State Spartans losing at home in the biggest game in 50 years to the 14th-ranked Ohio State Buckeyes. Falling 49-37 and the so-called Spartan defense giving up an unprecedented 568 total yards of offense, MSU is now eliminated from the Big Ten championship game and any realistic chance to play in the 14 playoff at the end of the season. Now the Spartans do play again next week against Maryland. I guess, who cares, whatever. Big Blue had a little better time on Saturday, beating Northwestern 10-9 with only 256 yards of total offense, going 1 for 12 on third downs, and with running back Devon Smith giving U of M their lone touchdown. Now the Wolverines have a bye week next Saturday, and then they host Maryland the week after that. Now for some more serious news. The world is ending, people. Repent, sinners, repent, because that is the only reason how the Lions keep winning the way they are. The 7-2 NFC North leading Lions, who came from behind again on Sunday over the visiting Dolphins, winning 20-16. Now this is the third straight game the Leos have won in the final 2 minutes, with Stafford throwing the winning touchdown to Theo Riddick with only 29 seconds left. See, I'm not used to this. I'm kind of scared that this keeps happening. Calvin Johnson had 7 catches for 113 yards and 1 touchdown, and Golden Tate ended the day with 11 catches for 109 yards, with 8 of those catches being 94 yards in the second half. And the #1 ranked Detroit defense had another great day, forcing an interception by Mr. James Ehedible and a fumble recovery by linebacker Josh Bynes. I laughed, I cried, I had a good time watching the Cardiac Cats, who will travel to Arizona next Sunday to take on the Cardinals. Now, the Pistons and Red Wings didn't have as much luck as the Lions on Sunday, with the Stones losing at home to the Utah Jazz 97-96, and the Wings losing in a shootout again to the visiting Lightning 4-3. Now, that brings us to today's sports vocab word of the day, which is icing, and not the kind on a cake this time. Icing in hockey is when a player shoots the puck untouched from across the center red line to the opposing team's goal line. Now, stick with me because it is not icing when the puck is shot from back behind the halfway line into the goal or by the opposing team's goalie to keep it out of the net. Now, like I said earlier, I'm Andy Curtis, and remember you can catch all of our broadcasts of your favorite Oxford High School games between 1 and 6 right here on OCTV, or check us out online under the programs section of OCCTV.org. And now make sure you follow us on Twitter at OCTV Sports. There you can follow us as we broadcast from your favorite Oxford High School sports, and just some funny quips from me throughout the day. And remember, this is your community station, so if you have sports ideas, shoot me an email at andrewcurtis23@gmail.com and put OCTV Sports in that subject line. That was all the sports news you need to know. Thanks for watching, and as always, have a wonderful day.
This is OCTV, Oxford Community Television, serving Oxford and Addison Townships with the best in local programming. On Charter Channel 191, AT&T UVerse Channel 99, and our website, OCCTV.org. OCTV, we provide local programming that brings you closer to home.
Welcome to still another segment of the news we call your weekly calendar of events, where we feature your weekly calendar of local Oxford and Addison community events, including charity, special fundraisers, and general community information. Now, if you or your organization would like help to get your message out to the public, contact us for detailed information at our studio phone number 248-628-9658, or you can go to our website at OCCTV.org. Tuesdays, October through December 2nd at 10:30 a.m., it's toddler time at the Oxford Public Library. Bring your child 24 months and 35 months along with your adult lap and enjoy stories, songs, rhymes, and activities with your toddler so that you can enjoy this very special time dedicated only to your toddler. Please make other arrangements for siblings. For more information, call 248-628-3034. Need alterations or repairs on your clothing? Call the Sisters of Mount Tabor in Ortonville. The Sisters can take care of your every sewing need and at a very fair price. For more information, call 248-627-4355. The Sisters spend a large portion of their day in prayer, so if no one answers, please leave a message and the good sisters will return your call. Thursday, November 6th, come to the Women's Fashion Show to be held at the Buell Estate in Addison Oaks County Park on 1480 Romeo Road. The whole program starts at 5 p.m. with 24 local vendors who will show you the latest and best in women's apparel. Dinner will begin at 6 p.m. and fashion show, complete with models, starts at 7 p.m. Cost for the event is only $30, and for more information, just call 248-408-1096. Now, don't miss the Spaghetti Dinner fundraiser Friday, November 14th at 6 p.m. to 8:30 p.m. Sponsored by Christ the King Church, 1550 West Drainer Road in Oxford Township. Funds will be generated to benefit the Melanchuk family to assist with medical expenses for their baby Grayson. Tickets can be purchased by calling 248-318-9507. Adults, $10 fee, senior, $8, children, $5, and ages 2 and under are free. Now, if you represent an organization wishing to show your support of our local Oxford school sports, music concerts, or any of the many programs broadcast by our TV station, you could become a sponsor or an underwriter of OCTV. A promotional television spot would be created and recognition would be given to you by our sports announcers during the event. It's easy and it's quite inexpensive. For more information, just contact our TV station manager, Bill Service, at 248-628-9658, or you can send a message of interest to Bill's email address at manager@occtv.org. Now, we at Oxford Community TV would like our television viewing public to learn more about your club or organization's special upcoming event or charity. So, if you would like to get your special event mentioned on our television show, call us at 248-628-9658, or again, go to our website at OCCTV.org. Now, just one final reminder. You can locate our OCTV program schedule by going to our website at OCCTV.org. That's OCCTV.org, and clicking on Schedule. There you will find a list of OCTV broadcast programs, dates, and times. One program I highly recommend is Bill Service, who always has interesting local stories and interviews on our Community Access program. Just check it out. This is Oxford Community Television OCTV. I'm your host, Elgin Nichols. We invite you to join us again for the next segment of your weekly calendar of events.